program is brought to you by Newsworks in cooperation with the City of Eau Claire. This program is simulcast on WRFP-LP 101.9 FM.
Call the meeting to order. First item, minutes from last time. Should have copies been distributed, I think, to everybody. Any questions or corrections or amendments on the minutes?
So move.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes as distributed?
Aye.
All right, awesome. That passes. Financial statements?
Yes, I'll handle that. Josh Sussner was not sure if he would be here this morning or not. The statement, the executive summary that was sent out is actually pretty light because of the way the accruals come in January every year. January tends to not receive a lot of the costings until February. So at this point, capital expenditures for 2019 a total $3,937. For this total, $3,200 was for acquisitions, and the remaining $737 is due to rental costs for properties. Any questions on that?
Move acceptance of the financial report as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Super. Okay, now we're to consider the possibility of going into closed session to discuss a couple items. First, possible item to update and receive direction on the terms of an intent to negotiate purchase agreement memorandum of understanding for purchase of property at 1750 North Oxford Avenue with Tyler Warner DBA Cannery Trail Residences Incorporated, which is permitted in closed session pursuant under Wisconsin Statutes 19.851, Section E, for purposes of competitive bargaining. Second item, potentially convene in closed session to update and receive direction on the terms and of an intent to negotiate agreement memorandum of understanding for the purchase of properties 126 and 214 North Barstow with Pablo Properties, which is permitted in closed session pursuant to the same statute as previously mentioned. Do I see a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Moved, second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're in closed session. It is a consideration of a resolution to extend the intent to negotiate purchase agreement memorandum of understanding with Cannery Trail Residences Incorporated for an additional 90 days. I see a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Do we need a full reading of that motion?
Need to read it?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So motion should be distributed.
All right. So I hereby move to approve a 90-day extension of the intent to negotiate a purchase agreement, MOU, or a substantiality similar form with Cannery Trail Residencies, Inc. for 1750 North Oxford Avenue in the Cannery Redevelopment District under the following condition. Cannery Trail Residences, Inc. shall provide to city staff by close of business March 6, 2019, an updated project development proposal that is consistent with the approved general development plan for the site, retains previously proposed affordable housing, and removes or substantially modifies any request for TIF cash grant assistance to bring it in compliance with city policy as an MOU between the parties provides.
Thank you. Are there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'd call the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you. Item 5 is a consideration of a resolution to extend the intent to negotiate purchase agreement memorandum of understanding with Pablo Properties for an additional 90 days.
I hereby move to approve a 90-day extension of an intent to negotiate a purchase agreement memorandum of understanding or of substantially similar form with Pablo Properties for 126 North Barstow Street and 214 North Barstow Street in the North Barstow Redevelopment District.
We have a second on that?
I'll second.
It moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion?
I have a couple comments. Now, in terms of, we've seen some things in closed session and drawings, and we're still very much at conceptual stage. I'm not aware if those are publicly available for sharing. If not, I'm just going to comment generally if that's.
Yeah, they're not. We're not really sure yet.
I guess, well, we start again with a thank you. I think this has the potential to be really a signature project end this first portion of Phoenix Park development, and we're very grateful for what Pablo is doing. In terms of the stacks, it sounds like you've all done had some good discussion and some good work. Just thematically, in terms of what I think the RDA is looking for, or hoping that is going to come out of this, I think the stacks are going to potentially be one of the signature pieces of this that are really popular. And as we've tried to understand it too, clearly some themes I think are going to be important for it to work well. The streetscape on Barstow is important, as will the courtyard to the interior. And having materials and open and airy and bright and using the containers, I think that's going to be really, really interesting. But both sides and both faces are going to be important, I think, for the community. So you have lots of traffic, not only on the interior, but the exterior as well. I think that, personally, this is just me personally, maybe the rest of you share it, I think the materials, the actual containers, I think it's going to be just fine. I mean, from some of the examples that have been shared with us, I think that can work. I think, Pablo, in your other buildings, whether the hotel or your own office building, you've used lots of materials very effectively, metal and concrete and wood, and blended those to a very contemporary look. And I would encourage you to try and do some of that here too, because I think it will only help, and it will get you where you're doing so effectively elsewhere. Finally, on the bigger building, I would only say, without referencing some of the drawings too much, the idea of, we want the street corridors, I think, to be as open as possible. That's been a commitment to the RDA at the beginning. We literally tore up the first plan here to open those street corridors so that we could have people flowing freely, both visually and otherwise, toward the park. And while creating community spaces is going to be a laudable goal, especially around the Children's Museum, we do want that street flow visually, I think, not to be impeded. Now, there are other ways for signage and things I think we're all going to be able to work through. But the courtyards and the open spaces and all of what you had in your first project that so distinguished it and appealed, there are a lot of ways to do that, but I would try to keep that visual corridor toward the park that people seem to really want unimpeded. So with that, obviously, we're making good progress, and I think the extension is warranted. We're going to be anxious. Personally, I'm going to be anxious to see what you come up with. I don't know if I'll still be here in 90 days when it happens, but if I am, I think it's going to be very creative.
Julia from Pablo is here, so I feel like the room's kind of like, Jeff, you're speaking at me.
I'm speaking to you with my back. My apologies in advance.
If you'd like, I mean, no pressure, right? If you'd like to come up and address the
Well, I want to be a little respectful, because some of the things in closed session are shared, obviously, as an update, not as a public presentation. So.
I listened. And when you say the visual connection to the park, do you mean like down streetscapes, or?
Streetscapes, physical structures, physical barriers, how the walls work, how the walls are integrated from the parking ramp, those sorts of things. I think where you're going with this is interesting in that, your very, very, very first concepts on the interior of the courtyard with the skating rink and things, you can see that tying with the Children's Museum being strong. But likewise, we don't want to lose the visual that was so important to both your building and RCU and Park in so how you balance all that will be a little tricky. I would encourage you to really, from some of the drawings elsewhere and things we're seeing on the stacks, I really think that's the star. I really do. I've come a long way on this. I admit I am late to the convert, but I encourage you for fighting for it. I would, but there, from what we're seeing, other examples and where you're headed, I think there's some really creative ways to do it But again, push your architect a little too to blend materials. You did that so well at the hotel and some of those other spots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Really do. You know, but the multi-levels and essentially having dining and stuff on multi-levels and the courtyard and all the rest. And I think one of the concepts that we saw in some of the other drawings, and it looks like you too, defining openings and space in that area is really important, that it's inviting. That everybody feels that there are distinct corridors off the street to come through in and draw them into the space so they see the cool things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be.
And then the challenge is to make sure that we have an ability to temper it so that it's not just a fair weather place. So that is definitely the thing that we are trying to find that balance.
You know, I think you will get there, and you know, nobody's perfect. You're trying something new, and it's succeeded in more temperate climates, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, people do manage to go to other storefronts and pop-up office space in all sorts of places. But you're right. How that all works is going to be a challenge, and that's why I think if you draw on your experience with using other sorts of materials and things to help define the space in other ways, it probably works.
Jeff, not to interrupt, do you mind if I hop in here? So we had seen a couple different designs that you've now referenced twice. Dave, would you be willing to share some of those designs here now in open session?
Mr. White has this. It's just something.
That way we have something we can all kind of see what maybe we're thinking about.
Sure.
Have they seen these? I don't even know who's seen this. This was one that they just said, I think the city staff actually found this, but this was one that had been done where? England?
Oh.
And, but it's helpful to all of us. We're probably not your target audience. It's helpful to us.
Yeah, absolutely you are.
Well, but to see, you know, the corner entry kind of mimics it very well. The containers can be dressed up all sorts of ways, but there they use glass on the street side as well as the interior, which I think really neat. And on top, where you're getting people up on that second level, and some dining and other things. Again, you know, just an example, but you know, and again, the wood materials, the container in the middle is just fine, but you kind of soften it with the wood, and it looks like folks are. I see why you were drawn to it. I think people are. There are all sorts of creative ways to do these things, but I think you're right. It has a lot of potential. Now you've got a climate issue, as you said here too, that you're going to have to balance.
Yeah.
But certainly, I can see that being. Well, that's Newcastle, not the most temperate spot, and lots of folks there.
No, especially in Europe, there are container parks in climates similar to ours.
Yeah, I'm sure you can pull it off, and you're going to have to figure it out. But I think, frankly, the stacks was probably the hardest thing for people to envision when you made your initial presentation. And I think clearly people are getting there in creative ways. I think you will too. But what I saw there is what I see, frankly, down at the Lisbon. Same, and as briefly as I've been in your office, same thing there too.
Mm-hmm.
Blending surfaces, very creative. You know, you get some hard surface, you get some metallic, you just lots of creative folks. I wish something was good for you.
Thank you.
2 cents, being worth it.
Yeah, and I just want to follow up, not to be redundant, but we really did have a lot of discussion about the inviting atmosphere, seeing various entrances and focusing on the confluence of the rivers and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So just what can we do to get people to look this way and want to go this way?
Okay, so I think I misunderstood when you were first talking about visibility. It's more for this site and
No,
not.
we're conflating 2 things too.
Okay.
Some of the
Both.
potential visual barriers over the street and things like
Right,
that.
so
I
Yeah.
think they're going to be a challenge.
That
And-
east-west corridor,
Yeah.
and, you know, being able to look down into RCU and having that be open.
Yeah.
And, you know, so that there is not only north-south, but east-west corridors for people to want to feel
Yes.
invited to move both ways. So
Right.
it is commentary on, you know, what the street openings look like, and then also the stacks.
The actual buildings, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We tore up the original plan. The history of this is originally was designed as an office park with a common interior parking lot. And the RCU was understanding, but we just got to the point where we were never going to pull people through those east-west streets down to the park unless we opened up the street there. We kept it visually so people could kind of see where they were going and we draw them toward the river. And that was kind of a big thing for us in the day and something that's kind of in our DNA.
No, that makes a ton of sense to me because we were supportive of the structure or the sculpture with the bus
Right.
drop off at the parking ramp. So hopefully a development can frame that beautiful corridor and passageway and like the infrastructure of the drop off and walk to the park and not obstruct it.
That would be, I'm sure, you know, there are lots of ways that you go into every major metro area, and there is signage over the street that defines Chinatown or Little Italy or whatever. I mean, there are things you can do, I think, to create a sense of space there. But I guess, you know, to me, the office park will come. It won't. The street access and what goes over the street will be an issue that I would encourage you all to put kind of to the front for its importance. And this is, I think, this is the home run if you can all pull it off. I'm pretty confident you will. Tricky.
Mm-hmm.
But how that all works is really going to be how this all works. And not to be condescending or anything else, there are lots of ways of building offices.
Mm-hmm.
That would make it special if you do it.
Yeah. And we're actually, the way that, you know, construction styles and staging happens, we'll have more time to make sure that we plan this one correctly.
It will get a lot of attention with all of this, which is why I would encourage you to have a pretty active dialogue with staff as it comes forward, because I doubt I and some of the members of the redevelopment board are the only people who have trouble with vision. It's going to have to be something that gets some discussion.
Well, so far publicly, we've gotten a lot of interest in people that want to be in these spaces and just like, so tell me more about this. I suppose that, yeah, the people that we talk to aren't the ones that would probably come up to us and go, that looks crazy, but it's been really well received since we've presented it at the RDA from what we've been hearing.
Good.
Any other discussion on the motion?
Well, that's right.
Yes.
I didn't forget. Well, thank you, Julie, for that, and thanks for coming this morning and talking to us.
My pleasure.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries. Executive Director's Report? Aaron?
I'll just make this brief because I know we're on a little bit of time constraint with the weather coming in. As I mentioned in closed session, we're starting to get a lot of inquiries from outside developers, outside interest in looking at the community, particularly in terms of affordable housing. I think it'd be very appropriate in a very soon in the future meeting for the RDA to sit down and discuss some specific roles they might be interested in playing. At this point in time, it's really been about land transfer and purchasing and reselling development. I think it'd be appropriate for the board to consider, do they want to look at potential partnerships on projects where they maintain the land as an equity stake to help facilitate an affordable housing project or something in those terms. As the task force releases its findings, which will be coming up before the Housing Task Force, the city will be looking for direction and what we want to do and how we want to engage in encouraging affordable housing and what those programming might look like. And I think that'd be a perfect time for RDA to kind of look at what role, if they want to play an enhanced role in that, what role that would look like. And other than that, we're seeing some good interest in additional development. We have some local manufacturers who are looking at expansions, so we're definitely seeing some interest in growth in the communities. Working the leagues.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any announcements or correspondence? All right, so seeing none, that concludes our agenda. Look for a motion to adjourn. Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.
This program was brought to you by a cooperation between Newsworks and the City of Eau Claire. A transcript of this meeting is available for the hearing impaired. It will be available within 7 days of this telecast. Call 715-839-4912 or TDD 715-839-1689 or write Eau Claire City Clerk, P.O. Box 5148, Eau Claire, Wisconsin 54702-5148. Newsworks is made possible by continuing community support. If you would like to volunteer or make a donation, please contact us via phone at 715